this is Wendy. Welcome to my channel. I'm going to be showing you today how to make a crocheted baby hat. In the description below, you'll find the instructions for a hat sized 2 to 6 months, 6 to 12 months, and 12 to 18 months. I'll be making the smallest size today, but it's the same technique for all of the hats. It's pretty simple to make, and you can whip one up in no time for the special little person in your life. For this hat, you will need a number 3 weight yarn. I'm using Bernat Softy Baby. It's an acrylic yarn. You could use a cotton blend or a wool blend yarn as well. I'm also using a 3.75 millimeter crochet hook. The gauge is also listed in the description below. We'll start with the ribbing. If you would like to make a gauge swatch. To do the ribbing, begin with a chain of 9 stitches. Like so. The loop on your hook doesn't count. If you're wanting to count, just check how many V's you have underneath your hook. Now we're going to work back along the chain, putting a single crochet in the second loop from the hook, so skipping this first V right next to the hook. Single crochet in the second loop of the hook by putting your hook into the work, yarn over, draw up a loop, yarn over, pull back through 2. And down the chain in the same manner, single crochets. And because we skipped the first one, that became our turning chain, you should have 8 single crochets. And you can just count the V's across the top to make sure that you have 8. Now we're going to turn and chain 1 and go back down the other side. To work the ribbing, we need to work in the back loop only. So when you look at the V's on the top, instead of going under both sides of the V, we're just going to go in the one that's farthest away. So again, skipping the turning chain, which is right next to the hook, go under just the back V and draw up in the first stitch and make a single crochet. And do that all the way across for 8 single crochets. The last one likes to hide a little bit. If you're not sure if you caught it, then just count to make sure you've got 8. Again, turn and chain 1, and I like to pull that chain 1 nice and snug. I find I get a neater edging on my ribbing. No loose loops. And again, go into the first stitch, and the last one again likes to hide across. Make sure that you grab that last one. It's right before this little bump at the end. Turn and chain 1, single crochet in the back loop only, and we're going to keep doing that for a total of 68 rows. Check the description for the number of rows for the larger sizes. And if you're a beginner, just count up to 8 every time. Make sure you've got the right number and your ribbing isn't getting wider or narrower. So just repeat that row over and over. Single crochet in the back loop of each stitch. and you'll see it starts to give a ribbed effect. Each of these ribs is 2 rows, and so when we have 68 rows, we will have a total of 34 ribs. So come back when you've got your 34 ribs and we'll move on to the next step. So now I have 34 ribs, or 68 rows. Each one of these little bumps is 2 rows. And I've put it so that you have a full bump at each end facing up, right? If you turn it over, you see you have kind of half a row, half a bump here, which is 1 row. And if you lay it so that you have a full ridge at each end and count across, 34 ridges gets you the small size. And it measures, in my case, about 13.5 inches, unstretched, but it can easily stretch to 15 inches, which is the head circumference we're aiming for this smallest 2 to 6 months size. All right, so with a ridge on each end facing up, the next step is to fold that ribbing together, like so, with the 2 ends together. Now you could sew it together with your tail, but I like to just slip stitch it. And the way to do that, you can see we've got a row of V's here and our starting chain over here. I'm going to go under both V's on the one closer to me and under the first stitch of the starting chain on that one, pull the thread through, or the yarn rather, and then pull it right through the loop on the hook, just slip stitching. Go into the one closer to me, pick up the corresponding stitch in the back one, yarn over and pull through the work, both sides and through the loop. And you should do that 8 times, of course, across for the 8 stitches. Sometimes you'll catch a little thread like this. It just means that I didn't pull it through the whole loop. If you're a beginner, those can be really frustrating. So just try and get your yarn through that part as well. Or if that doesn't work, just pull 1 stitch out, put your loop back on, and give it a try again. Some yarn is just more splitty than others, and it tends to do that more often. Okay, so when you've slip stitched all the way across, it should be nicely joined together. Now you're going to flip it around to put that slip stitched part on the inside. And from the outside, you can see that looks nice and neat. All right. The next step is to start the top section of the hat, which is done with 1 row of single crochet followed by the rest of it in half double crochet. So for our setup single crochet row, or round rather, because we're going to go in rounds, we're going to put 1 single crochet at the end of each row. Okay, so of course each of these ribs again, or ridges, is 2 rows. So we're going to need a stitch here and a stitch here on either side of that rib. Try and find a consistent spot at the top of each row to put your hook. So I'm going to go right here for my first stitch. first single crochet, and then right here for the second one. I try and avoid these really open spots like that because it tends to leave a little bit of a hole. Okay, so, and then the next one, pick up and single crochet. You might have to wiggle your hook a little bit to get it into the spot that you want, but yeah, try and find a consistent stitch in the end of each row. And continue all the way around, picking up one single crochet in the end of each row. I'll join you when I've gotten all the way around. So when you get back around to your starting point, two things to check. You should have the right number of stitches. So in my case it's 68 because I had 68 rows for this smallest size. It won't matter so much for the next few rows if you were off by one, but when we get to the decreased rows, it's going to matter. So double check your count. The second thing to check is to make sure you've still got good stretch and you haven't accidentally made those single crochets too tight. You want it to still flex quite a lot. Okay, you can see that my first stitch is right here. It's pulled a little bit around to the back. I'm not going to join, I'm just going to continue in the round. And like I said, we're going to do half double crochets. So for a half double crochet, yarn over, go under both sides of the V from the single crochet, pull up a loop, yarn over, and go through all 3 loops on your hook, like that. Now that's my first stitch in the round. It's important to mark your first stitch. So in that loop that's just, or the V that's just at the base of your hook, put a stitch marker in there, and that will mark the first stitch in the round. And continuing with half double crochets, work 1 in each stitch around. Yarn over into the work, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through all 3. That's your half double crochet. Yarn over into the work, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through 3. Just keep an easy tension. It's easy as a beginner to pull it really tight. At the end of the round, the next stitch is the starting of the next round. So I'm going to take out my stitch marker, and after the next stitch, the first stitch in the round, I'll put it back in and move it up with each round. And repeat the half double crochets for a total of 6 rounds for this smallest size. Check the description for the number of rounds for the larger sizes. I hope you're finding this easy to follow so far and that you're enjoying making the baby hat. After 6 rounds, if your gauge is according to the pattern, which is 14 rows for 4 inches and 20 stitches for 4 inches, this part should be about 3.5 inches wide. Another thing to notice is here's my starting point, and yet my stitch marker is over here. And you'll notice that when you're working in the round, your starting stitch migrates a little bit to the right. And that has to do with the shape of a crochet stitch. The stem is here and the V is a little bit to the right. So as you add rows in rounds over time, your stitch marker moves a little bit to the right. So if yours looks like that, don't worry, that is just the way it should be. The next step is to start decreasing for the crown of the hat. Now I would like my decreases to be in 8 spaces around, but 68 is not divisible by 8. So for this hat, I'm going to first go down by 4 stitches on the next round, and then start going down by 8 stitches per round after that. Slightly different again for the larger sizes, so check the description. So on the next round, I'm going to half double crochet in the next 15 stitches. Again, moving your stitch marker, 13, 14, 15. All right, now I'm going to do a decrease, which is a half double crochet 2 together. It looks like this. Yarn over, go into the work, pull up a loop, but instead of finishing off the half double crochet, start another one. Yarn over, go into the work, pull up a loop. Now you'll have 5 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through all 5. That turns 2 stitches into 1 half double crochet 2 together. Another 15 half double crochets, then another half double crochet 2 together. Repeat that twice more. So you'll have groups of 15 followed by half double crochet 2 together, so that your 17 stitches become 16 in each group, and overall will go down by 4 stitches on this round, so you'll have a total of 64 stitches at the end of the round. After you've finished that round, you'll have gone down by 4 stitches, like I said, to 64, and we're going to start decreasing by 8 in each round. So for this next round, which is round 9, we're going to decrease after every 6 stitches. So half double crochet in the next 6, and then half double crochet 2 together, repeating that around. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and then half double crochet 2 together, and then another 6, and another half double crochet 2 together. So it's important to count carefully so that your decreases are even all the way around. And because we're decreasing by a total of 8 in this round, you should have the next round is similar when this round is complete. We're going to work 5 half double crochets before the half double crochet 2 together in each group. So 5 and then a decrease, 5 and then a decrease all the way around. The round after that will be 4 and a decrease repeated, then 3 and a decrease repeated, then 2 and then 1. So each time you're going down by 1 stitch before the decrease. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And my decrease is here. And you'll notice that the decreases start to line up. Here's the one from the row before, and the one from this row is just ahead of it. So it should coming just before the that from now on, that your decreases. Another 5, and then a half double 2 together, and again there's the one from the previous row, and there's this one. I'm going to continue like that all the way around, and because we're going down by another 8 stitches after this round, we should have 48. With 48 stitches, you'll start to notice that the crown of the hat is really curving in. As I mentioned, the next round will have 4 stitches before the decrease, then another 4 and half double 2 together, and so on around. Then the next one, do 3 and a decrease. The next round, 2, and I will come back when I'm at the round where I have 1 stitch between each decrease. 1, 2, 3, 4. So after this round, I'll have 40. After the next round, 32. And after the round after that, 20, what would that be? 24. Once you're down to 24 stitches, you're almost there, just a couple of rounds left. So in the previous round, I did 2 stitches, half double crochet 2 together, 2 stitches, half double crochet 2 together all the way around. So in this round, I'm going to do just 1 half double crochet, and then I gotta move my stitch marker first, but after that single half double crochet, I'm going to put in a decrease to a half double crochet 2 together, and then 1 half double. Gets a little awkward when it gets small like this, but you'll get it. Then a decrease, and repeat that around. Kind of just have to fold it and manipulate it so you can find your stitches when it gets small like this. But still, each decrease will come just before the decrease from the row below. Half double, 2 together, half double, and the last 2 together. So now it will have 16 stitches. Just set the stitch marker aside now because it's just going to get in the way. And in those last 16, do half double 2 together 8 times. Okay, so you're going to do half double 2 together, another half double 2 together, and so on all the way around. So there'll be 8 of them in this round. You'll just have to count because you no longer have your stitch marker. Wiggle it around so you can find your stitches. All right, and that's my 8. So if I count around, I have 8 stitches left. So there's just a little hole at the top. cut the yarn. Pull that last loop through. Oh, this one's small. I'm going to have to get a bigger one. Okay. Thread your yarn through. And then going under each of those 8 stitches, just weave around. Doing a loop around each of those 8 stitches. Then when you get back to the beginning, give that yarn a tug and close up the hole. Then put your yarn to the inside and work off that thread. Making sure you anchor it good and tight. Baby hats tend to get washed quite a bit, and you want to make sure that that's not going to come out. Just run it underneath a few stitches and then perhaps back again. Make sure it's in there nice and tight. And that's all there is to it. Your little hat is finished. Add a flower or a bow or something to the side for some decoration. And give the other sizes a try too if you like. Drop me a comment if you enjoyed this project and if you made it for a special little one in your life. And consider subscribing if you haven't done so already. I really appreciate you joining me today. Have a super day.